President Biden's document search could potentially extend into a search of a family member's home. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz is urging the FBI to search Hunter Biden's home and offices for classified documents. Earlier, I spoke with Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, nice to talk to you, sir. And let me get right to Hunter Biden. You have suggested that his homes be searched. Do you have any reason to believe that he did anything wrong with classified information or had any access to classified information?
Well, yes, there's lots of reasons to believe that he's done things wrong. We know that Burisma, a Ukrainian natural gas company, paid him $83,000 a month, millions of dollars they paid to serve on the board. Hunter Biden doesn't speak Ukrainian, has no experience in oil and gas. The one thing he brought was Daddy. Daddy was the sitting vice president. We also know from the Hunter Biden laptop that he sent a very, very detailed email just before he got on the Burisma board about the geopolitical situation in Ukraine and Russia, predicting what was going to happen. It's an email that is very unlike other emails Hunter Biden sent, and it reads as if it were cut and pasted from a U.S. government briefing. When you travel abroad, I've done this many times, you get a briefing, you get a scene setter, you get an assessment of the countries you're visiting. That's what that email reads like. We also know that Joe Biden had classified documents that were unsecured in multiple locations, in his Wilmington home, at the same time that Hunter Biden listed Joe Biden's Wilmington home as his residence. We know that he had classified documents next to his Corvette in his garage, roughly contemporaneous to the time where there are pictures of Hunter Biden driving that very same Corvette. And so it naturally raises the question. We know that Hunter Biden was selling access, was selling influence, but it raises the question, did Hunter Biden have access to his father's briefings, both his general briefings, but in particular, the criminal question is whether he had access to the classified briefings, and I think the FBI needs to investigate and examine that.
All right, you have written a letter to the CEO of at&t, TPG, and DirecTV because Newsmax has been booted from DirecTV, along with Senator Mike Lee, Senator Lindsey Graham, and Senator Tom Cotton. What do you expect reasonably to achieve by this letter?
Well, listen, number one, I'm a big fan of Newsmax. I think Newsmax does a terrific job. Number two, I am deeply, deeply concerned about censorship across the board, censorship by big tech, censorship by big media. And you look at DirecTV, a year ago, there were three major cable news outlets that were right of center: Fox News, Newsmax, and One America News Network. In the last year, DirecTV has deplatformed two of the three. First, they deplatformed OAN, and now they've deplatformed Newsmax. I believe that is a manifestation of political bias. DirecTV has been pressured, and at&t, which owns 70% of DirecTV, has been pressured by Democratic members of Congress to do exactly that. Actually, to deplatform all three is what the Democrats are calling on at&t and DirecTV to do, to remove OAN and Newsmax and Fox News. And in this instance, there are numerous stations on DirecTV that are left of center. DirecTV refused to pay Newsmax even 1 penny of net revenue, while at the same time they were paying left-leaning outlets very substantial sums of money, even while their ratings were much lower than Newsmax. And so what I've asked a series of questions. I'm the incoming ranking member on the Senate Commerce Committee. Lindsey Graham is the incoming ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Those are the two committees that have jurisdiction over the FCC, over at&t, over journalism, and we're examining the extent to which this is political bias, the extent to which this is a double standard, and the extent to which this was big business currying favor with Democrat office holders trying to silence voices that they're scared of.
You know, the Democrats wrote 2 years ago in that letter when they were seeking to deplatform OAN, is that it was about, one of the things was misinformation, which I must admit, when I see the word information, you know, look, let's face it, the New York Times, how many times did they say that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and we went into war for 10 or 15 years? That was misinformation, and they're not seeking to shut down the New York Times. Yes. If misinformation is one of the criteria, you know, basically that's going to be the end of news organizations.
Look, that's exactly right. And much of the corporate media today, they've given up any pretense of journalism. They are propagandists. They are pushing a political view. It's not just the Democrat view. They are the left wing of the Democrat Party, and they view their mission as being evangelist, as pushing that view. And if you happen to think something that's reported in the New York Times or on Newsmax, if you happen to think it's wrong, the avenue for that is to say it's wrong and present the other side. I agree with John Stuart Mill, who said the best cure for bad speech is more speech. And so to be clear, the letter I sent today, I'm not asking DirecTV to deplatform MSNBC. I think a lot of what MSNBC says is nonsense. But they have a right to speak, and they have a right to spew nonsense. And if I disagree with it, I'll say it. That's how free speech works. But the left today, they don't want to defend their views. They don't want to engage in substance or the merits or use facts or argument. They want to use power, and they want to use money to silence anyone who dares disagree. And I got to tell you, there are millions of Texans, millions of people all across America who watch Newsmax, who value your coverage, and who right now DirecTV and at&t is saying, we don't care about your choices and your preferences. We want to silence voices that we disagree with.
All right, we only have 30 seconds left. I understand that you intend to introduce some legislation relating to veterans who are discharged because they weren't vaccinated. What's the thumbnail sketch of this bill?
Well, yes, we had a terrific victory last month when we finally repealed the Biden vaccine mandate in the military. It was wrong. It was unjust. I've been leading the fight to repeal it, and we succeeded. Unfortunately, the Democrats made it prospective only, which means the thousands of soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines and Coast Guardsmen who were fired haven't received justice. I've introduced legislation to allow them to be reinstated at their original rank with full benefits, and I'm going to keep fighting until every serviceman and woman treated unjustly by the Biden vaccine mandate receives what they have earned defending this nation.
Senator Cruz, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.